The music was low Fleetwood Mac on vinyl, because of course it was, and the scent of spiced candles and Merlot hung thick in the air. The house was cozy, lit in that too-perfect way Lena had mastered, with little fairy lights strung across the window and a charcuterie board that looked like it was prepped for a magazine cover shoot. Soft jazz from the other room bled into the laughter bouncing off the walls. It was a couple's game night. Just 6 of us. Me and Lena, Melissa and her husband Tom, Ashley and her guy, Kevin. The wine had flowed freely for about 2 hours now, and we were all loose enough to say things we'd only thought before. That kind of atmosphere. Lena was sitting cross-legged on the rug, right between Tyler, Melissa's husband, and the fireplace, swirling her 3rd glass of Cabernet like she was born to perform. Her blouse was one of those low-cut, silken numbers that clung in the right places and teased in others. I knew the blouse. I also knew she only wore it when she wanted attention. I used to think that was meant for me. No? She was looking at Tyler a little too long, and laughing a little too easily. Okay, Ashley giggled, reaching for the wine bottle to top off her glass. Truth or dare, Lena? Lena grinned, cheeky, almost mischievous, and licked a bit of wine from the corner of her lip. I noticed Tyler noticed. Everyone did, really. Truth, Lena purred. Ashley's eyes sparkled. If you could sleep with someone at this party, besides your husband, who would it be? The room exploded with laughter and mock groans. I chuckled, too. Had to. That's the rule, right? Keep the vibe light. Keep it fun. But I was watching Lena now. Watching her hesitate just enough for it to matter. She said, biting her lip. You know, maybe we should just open things up. The laughter stopped for a beat, then picked up again like a record skipping forward. Kevin snorted his drink. Melissa raised a brow. Even Tom, good old boring Tom, gave a nervous chuckle. Jesus, Lena, Melissa said, shaking her head. You always go there. Don't tempt me, Lena replied, her eyes flicking over to Tyler again before settling back on her wine. I gave a weak smile, then forced a laugh that didn't quite reach my chest. Guess we'd need ground rules for that kind of game, huh? But the moment stuck in my ribs like a splinter. A few people made jokes. Kevin dared Tom to try on one of Ashley's scarves. Melissa refilled everyone's glasses. The night moved on. But I didn't. Because I'd seen Lena lean in a little closer to Tyler as she stood. I saw his hand hover an inch too long near her waist. And I saw her smile in a way I hadn't seen in years, like she was discovering something new. Something exciting. I swallowed the burn of that realization and looked across the room. Melissa caught my eye. She was watching Lena, too. But when she noticed me looking, her gaze slid over mine like velvet. Slow. Curious. And then she smiled. Not polite. Not innocent. Just intrigued. I filed that moment away, too. It wasn't the first strange thing I'd noticed, but it was the first time it felt like more than coincidence. I loved Lena. Still did. Even if I hated how I felt sitting there, invisible in my own house, watching her pretend we were still us while she giggled with someone else's husband. But here's the thing. She might have cracked the door open tonight, just a little. But she forgot something very important. I was watching, and I never let things go once I filed them away. Lena was asleep, or at least pretending to be, when I slipped into bed. She had her back to me, her breathing steady, not quite the soft rhythm of real sleep, but close enough that I didn't call her bluff. I stared at the ceiling for a long time, the faint sounds of the city beyond the windows like static in my head. The wine buzz was gone. All I could feel now was this low hum in my chest, the kind of restless tension you can't shake, not even when your body's still. Her words from earlier echoed, looping over and over like a song I hated but couldn't stop humming. Maybe we should open things up. A joke. That's what it was supposed to be. But I'd seen her glance when she said it. How her eyes didn't land on me but drifted to Tyler. How her lips curled into something a little too playful, too practiced. I knew Lena. Knew the way she flirted when she didn't think it mattered. Or worse, when she wanted it to matter. I reached for my phone on the nightstand, the glow of the screen slicing through the dark. Photos from the night filled the screen. Smiles, drinks held high, candles flickering in the background. Everyone looked relaxed, unguarded. Except Melissa. There was a shot, one that Ashley had taken from across the room, probably mid-toast, where Lena was leaning toward Tyler, laughing with her mouth wide open. And there, on the other side of the table, was Melissa. Her eyes weren't on Lena or Tyler. They were on me. Not just a glance. A look. Focused. Measured. Like she was watching a game unfold before anyone else had realized there were even pieces in motion. That look settled in my mind like smoke. I tapped her contact and stared at the blinking cursor in our message thread. Then I typed, "That joke of Lena's got everyone thinking, huh?" I didn't expect a reply right away. It was after midnight, and she had a husband asleep beside her, or maybe not. But 30 seconds later, my phone buzzed. Winking emoji. That little emoji shouldn't have hit me like it did, but it landed with heat. Teasing. Knowing. I leaned back against the pillows, heart beating just a little faster than before. My fingers hovered. You ever wonder if she was serious? This time the dots showed up immediately, then disappeared, then came back. She's talked about it before. Joking. Not joking. Depends on the day. That wasn't surprising. Lena had been towing that line for months. Random comments about other couples who do things differently, half-drunk confessions about how monogamy was a social construct. I had smiled, nodded, let them float away like harmless curiosity. But tonight, she said it in a room full of people, and her eyes had gone somewhere else. Another message came through. She thinks you'd never go for it. That one hit a nerve. I stared at the screen, lips tightening, that slow burn of something unspoken lighting behind my ribs. She might be wrong. Melissa didn't reply right away, and when she did, it wasn't with words. Just a single photo. A selfie. Not revealing, not crude. Just her, in bed, hair tousled, a glimmer in her eye. The caption read, "Coffee tomorrow?" I sat there for a moment, phone warm in my hand, the weight of the decision pressing down. This wasn't just playful anymore. This was a door. One that Lena might have joked about opening, but I had the handle now. I typed, 11, at that cafe by your office? Perfect. Or something dangerous. I smirked, despite myself. There it was again, that edge. That feeling of stepping towards something forbidden, something dangerous enough to feel real. Lena had started the game. She just didn't know who was really playing now. I locked my phone and set it on the nightstand. Rolled onto my back. Lena shifted slightly, her back still to me, unaware of the storm quietly brewing inches away. She wanted a reaction, maybe even permission, but what she was going to get was participation. The cafe Melissa picked was barely half full when I walked in, just past 11. Industrial wood tables, soft jazz, baristas in beanies. The kind of place Lena used to love before she swapped out lattes for yoga brunches with her coworkers. The irony wasn't lost on me. I spotted Melissa in the back, tucked into a booth by the window, wearing a loose beige sweater that slipped a little off one shoulder. Subtle makeup, bare nails. Effortless, but not. She looked like she wanted to seem unplanned. Her lips curved when she saw me, not quite a smile. Something slower, more calculated. "Hey, stranger," she said, pushing her sunglasses up into her hair. "Hey." I slid into the seat across from her, my eyes doing a quick scan of the booth. 2 empty cups. So she'd been here a while. "I wasn't sure you'd actually come," she said, resting her chin on her palm. "I wasn't sure either," I admitted. Melissa tilted her head. "But you did." I nodded, a slow, measured smile tugging at the corner of my mouth. "So," I said, voice low, "has Lena really talked about this? Opening things up?" Melissa raised her brows. Not in a let's draw up contracts kind of way, but yeah, flirted with the idea. Said you'd never go for it. "She's been saying that a lot lately," I muttered. "I think she likes the fantasy," Melissa said, brushing a lock of hair from her cheek. "But not the consequences." She leaned forward slightly, her collar slipping another half-inch, revealing smooth skin and the delicate strap of her bra. "Black lace. Not by accident. Is that what this is?" I asked, meeting her eyes. "You showing me the consequences?" She smiled. "No, Jason. This," she gestured between us, "is curiosity, and I don't pretend to be above it." There was something in her voice that stirred something deep in my gut. She wasn't playing some innocent bystander. Melissa had been watching Lena all night. Watching me. "I think you're more than curious," I said, letting my gaze linger on her lips for a moment. Her mouth parted, just slightly. She didn't flinch, didn't blush. "Maybe I am. Maybe I've wondered for a while." "Since when?" She leaned closer. Her perfume hit me then. Vanilla, musk, heat. "Since the New Year's party. When Lena made you sleep on the couch. You didn't know I was watching, did you?" I blinked. "You saw that? I saw how you looked at her when she said no to you. How you bit your tongue. How you held back. And you liked that?" Melissa sat back, slow and smooth. "No. I hated it. I thought, why is a man like that being punished for playing by the rules?" And then I thought, she trailed off, her fingers tapping the edge of her coffee mug. Maybe he's not playing by the rules anymore. I couldn't help it. I laughed under my breath. A short, bitter sound. What makes you think I'm not? Because you're here, she said, simply. Her phone buzzed on the table. A message preview popped up. Tom? Lunch? Melissa flipped the phone over without even glancing. Should I be worried? I asked, half teasing. About Tom. She scoffed. He wouldn't notice if I dyed my hair green and tattooed his name on my ass. He's too busy playing fantasy football and pretending he's still 25. She looked up again, her eyes darker now. But you notice things. I do, I said, my voice quieter now. Like that lipstick on your cheek last night. She gave a sly little smile. Accident, of course. Of course. The silence stretched just long enough to hum between us. There was something pulsing in it, not awkwardness. Tension. Invitation. I didn't come here to make a move, she said, though the way her eyes dropped to my mouth told a different story. I didn't either, I lied. But I was already leaning in, just slightly, just enough to meet her halfway when she didn't pull back. Her breath caught, just a fraction, as my hand brushed against hers on the table. She didn't pull away. We didn't kiss. But we didn't need to. Her thumb ran slowly along my knuckles. The air between us had thickened, charged with everything that wasn't being said. A current, warm and crackling. When I finally stood to leave, I didn't say anything. Neither did she. But as I turned, she called out softly, Jason. I looked back. She smiled, one of those slow, dangerous ones. You know. Lena might have opened the door. She paused. Her next words were measured, deliciously deliberate. But you're the one walking through it. The text came the next day, just after 2 p.m. I was in my office, mid-meeting, half listening to a presentation about projections for Q3 when my phone buzzed in my pocket. I felt it more than heard it, but something in my gut told me it was her. Not Lena. Ashley. When the meeting finally broke, I slipped out, pulled my phone from my pocket, and leaned against the wall by the elevators. Ashley, Melissa told me what you said. I didn't know you had that side. Just that. No context. No preamble. But the way the words sat on the screen made me smirk. There was a playfulness to it. A little surprise. A lot of curiosity. I stared at the message for a second before typing back. You mean the side that doesn't make a scene when his wife jokes about sleeping with other men? 3 dots. Pause. Then. I mean the side that doesn't just play along. The one that watches. I could almost hear the way she said that. Like a purr. Or maybe that was just how I wanted to hear it. Watching's just the beginning. Her reply came faster this time. So what comes next? 2 hours later, we were at a bar downtown, far enough from the suburbs where no one we knew would show up. The kind of place with dim lighting, strong cocktails, and a quiet intimacy to the booths. Ashley had already ordered a drink before I arrived. She was in a black dress, simple but tied in all the right ways, with a slit up the thigh that wasn't there for airflow. Her lipstick was a little darker than usual, and she smiled like she knew exactly what she was doing. You clean up well, Mr. Reserved, she said as I slid into the seat across from her. You text well for someone who's supposed to be happily married, I replied, and raised an eyebrow. She leaned in, her necklace catching the soft light above our table. Who said I was happy? I sipped my drink. Melissa tell you everything? Not everything, Ashley replied, twirling the straw in her glass. Just enough. Enough to make you curious? Enough to make me want to see what you look like when you stop pretending. I laughed. Low. Almost bitter. Pretending to be the good guy? She smiled. Pretending to be asleep. I stared at her for a beat. She wasn't just flirting. Ashley had always been flirty, even with Lena around, but this was something else. This was layered. Intentional. Her hand brushed my arm as she leaned closer. You know what got me? She said, voice low. At that party. The way you watched Lena and Tyler. You didn't flinch. You didn't interrupt. You just observed. Like you already knew the game. Maybe I did, I said, my voice quieter now. Maybe you liked it, she whispered. There was a beat where neither of us moved. The background noise faded, replaced by the hum between us, an invisible current pulling at something more dangerous than words. You came here for a drink, I said. She smirked. I came here to see if Melissa was full of shit. And Ashley leaned in, her mouth brushing against the shell of my ear. She undersold you. We didn't go back to my place. We didn't go to hers. But in the parking lot, the air thick and charged and reckless, she pressed me back against the side of my car and kissed me. Hard. Fast. Like she'd been holding it in for too long. I didn't stop her. Her lips were warm, hungry, hands curling into my shirt like she was anchoring herself. My fingers dug into her waist, feeling the heat through the thin fabric of her dress. When she moaned softly into my mouth, something inside me cracked open. And it wasn't guilt. It was something else. A part of me that had been starved. She pulled back, breathless, her lips slick, eyes dark and wild. "No strings," she said. "No guilt. No promises," I replied. "Even better." We stood there for a second, not touching, not speaking, just breathing. "I should go," she said finally, stepping back and straightening her dress. But I'm not done. Neither was I. I watched her walk away, hips swaying, knowing exactly what kind of trail she left in her wake. And somewhere, deep in the back of my mind, I thought about Lena, still playing her game, still pretending she was the one in control. But things had changed. And now, every move I made was mine. They say guilt has a weight to it, that it clings to your skin, that it steals your breath. I felt none of that. What I felt was alive. I had never been the guy with secrets. I was the dependable one, the background husband at parties, the guy who remembered birthdays and picked up dry cleaning, the guy who waited patiently while his wife flirted in front of him and called it a joke. No, I was the guy texting Melissa and Ashley behind Lena's back, the guy who was learning the thrill of withholding instead of sharing, the guy who knew things Lena didn't, about her friends, about herself, about what it felt like to be wanted again. And the twisted thing was, I didn't feel dirty. I felt electric. Melissa and I had lunch 2 days after our coffee. It was supposed to be safe, just a check-in, no touching. But she wore that red blouse, the one with the buttons that always seemed too fragile. She wore it for me. I didn't need to ask. She told me more than I expected. Lena brought it up a few times. The open marriage thing, Melissa said, stirring her iced tea. But it was always in that performative way. Like, wouldn't it be crazy if we, while waiting to see if anyone flinched? "Did you?" I asked. Melissa's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "No, but I watched the way she looked at Tyler. And the way she didn't look at you. That one stung more than I let show." I bit into my sandwich. Chewed. Swallowed. Melissa leaned forward. "She took you for granted, Jason. Everyone saw it. She liked knowing you'd always be there." "Not anymore," I said. Later, when we parted ways, she brushed her fingers against my chest like it was muscle memory. No one noticed. No one cared. And the next day, Ashley sent a photo. Nothing explicit. Just her in workout leggings, sports bra. No caption. Just a look. Confident. Challenging. And yes, a little cruel. I knew what it meant. It wasn't a tease. It was a reminder. That night, I met her at a hotel bar under a different name. She wore black heels, dark lipstick, no wedding ring. Her kiss was urgent, her hands under my shirt before we even made it to the elevator. The sex was intense, fast, quiet, like we were afraid to name what it really was. A war between tension and release, between guilt and freedom. When it was over, she curled against me, her breath still heavy. "No feelings," she murmured. "None," I lied. We didn't cuddle. We dressed. We left in opposite directions. When I got home, Lena was in the kitchen, laptop open, 2 glasses of wine already poured. "Planning the next game night," she said brightly. I nearly laughed. Instead, I kissed her cheek and sat across from her. "You know," she said, swirling her glass, "Melissa's been quiet lately. And Ashley barely texts me anymore. Think something's up." I shrugged. "Maybe they're just busy." Her eyes lingered on me for a second. I felt her looking, studying. But she didn't ask the next question. She didn't know what to look for. Because to her, I was still Jason. Still safe. Still boring. She had no idea. The inside jokes Melissa and I shared at dinner. The heat of Ashley's nails on my back. The secret language of glances and text threads. The taste of danger I now crave like air. And the best part? Neither of them wanted her to know. Melissa texted that night. "She doesn't see it, does she?" I replied. "Not even close." And then, "You free this weekend?" The 3 dots danced, then vanished. "Always. Don't keep me waiting." Ashley texted 5 minutes later. "Was thinking about Monday. You busy?" I looked at both messages. Smiled to myself. Lena had no idea the house she curated so perfectly had already cracked at the foundation. I was living behind her back now, and I wasn't sure I wanted to come out. Lena always knew how to throw a party. The lights were dimmed, soft golds and flickering candles illuminating the edges of the living room. Scented wax and wine flowed again. The charcuterie board arranged with surgical precision. Figs, almonds, brie, honeycomb. She had even swapped out the playlist. This time, it was sultry trip-hop instead of breezy vinyl. I want this one to feel a little more adventurous, Lena whispered to me as she passed, brushing her hand across my lower back. I smiled, but not for her. Melissa arrived in a navy dress with a slit up the thigh, her hair up, gold hoops swinging gently when she laughed. Tom, oblivious, followed behind her holding a bottle of Prosecco. Ashley came solo. Kevin's at a conference, she explained as she hugged Lena. Said to carry the team tonight. I watched Lena freeze just a half second before composing herself. Oh, she said, lips still smiling. That's fine. Of course. Ashley winked at me as she moved past. This night wasn't just a repeat of the first. It was something else now. Something coiled and electric beneath every laugh, every sip of wine, every glance that lingered a little too long. And Lena? She didn't know she wasn't running the show anymore. We started the night with another couples game. Something called connection cards, prompted questions meant to deepen intimacy. The kind of thing you'd see on a relationship podcast. The questions started innocent enough. What's your favorite memory with your partner? Melissa answered first. Paris. For years ago, Tom got drunk off absinthe and declared himself the midnight king of the Latin Quarter. Everyone laughed. Tom looked vaguely proud. Then Lena answered. Mine? Probably our anniversary in San Diego. We snuck into that hotel pool after midnight. Her hand found my thigh under the table. It was supposed to feel intimate, but I was thinking about Ashley's hands on my chest 3 nights ago. Her mouth. Her whisper. When it was my turn, I smiled. Game night, I said. Everyone looked at me. Which one? Lena asked. This one, I replied, locking eyes with Melissa. Feels unpredictable. I felt her breath catch across the table. Just the smallest reaction. But enough. The questions got bolder. And Lena, emboldened by the wine and the attention, leaned into them. Would you ever be open to new experiences, romantically or sexually? She grinned. I've always said life's too short for just one flavor. Ashley coughed behind her glass. Melissa just raised an eyebrow. Is that an offer or a philosophy? Lena tilted her head. Both. Tom laughed. She's joking, right? Everyone else laughed with him. I didn't. Instead, I leaned forward. Would you be okay if your partner wasn't joking? I asked, staring at Lena. The room went quiet. Lena blinked. Excuse me. If I told you I'd already considered it seriously, would you be surprised? She looked at me, eyes narrowing just slightly. Jason, it's a question, I said calmly. It's the game. Ashley shifted beside me, her hand brushing my leg under the table. Melissa just sipped her wine and watched Lena like a hawk. No, Lena said, her voice thin. I guess I wouldn't be surprised. The moment held for one long breath before Ashley broke it with a laugh. Wow, this got spicy. Lena chuckled, but it was brittle, forced. And in that moment, I knew she was off balance. She didn't know where the ground was anymore. She had tossed the match into the dry grass weeks ago. Now the fire was spreading, and I was the one holding the hose. Later, as we walked Melissa and Tom to the door, she leaned close. That was fun, she whispered, lips barely grazing my ear. You look good tonight. Confident. Lena was in the kitchen, clearing glasses. She didn't hear. Ashley lingered by the door, zipping up her coat. We should do this again. Maybe something smaller next time. Smaller? I asked. Just us. I nodded. When I came back inside, Lena was pouring the last of the wine into her glass, staring down into it like it might explain the shift in energy. You were quiet tonight, she said. Just listening, I replied. She sipped. You know, I don't remember you being like this. Like what? She looked up. Mysterious. I smiled. Maybe you never really looked. It started with the phone. Not mine, hers. Lena was in the shower, and her phone buzzed 3 times in a row. I wasn't trying to snoop. But when you've been lied to, when you've been watched, you learn to watch back. 3 notifications, screen lighting up over and over. Group text. Ashley, Melissa, Lena. The name alone was enough to twist something in my gut. Ashley and Melissa, together without me? I didn't open it. Just read the preview. Ashley. Did you see the way he looked at me? She's clueless. The emoji hit harder than I expected. I put the phone back exactly where it had been, screen down. Walked to the kitchen. Breathed. The water shut off 5 minutes later. Lena emerged in a towel, face flushed, humming something under her breath. When she saw me, she smiled. "You're up early. Didn't sleep well. Everything okay?" I kissed her on the forehead. Of course. But that text echoed through the day. She's clueless. That was the thing about control. You only think you have it until someone shows you you don't. Lena was starting to realize that. And she didn't like it. It was later that week when the first real crack appeared. I was at the kitchen table, pretending to scroll through sports scores while she organized laundry on the couch. "Why have you been texting Melissa so much lately?" she asked, casually. I didn't look up. She sent me a funny meme. "We've just been messing around. Group chat stuff." Just that. But I saw the way her lips pressed together. The way she folded one of my t-shirts a little too precisely. She asked nothing else. But 2 days later, I got a text from Melissa. "Lena cornered me today. Asked if something was going on." "What did you say?" Told her I didn't know what she was talking about. Played dumb. Smart. "Not always," she wrote. "But I know when it counts." Ashley messaged me the next morning. "Lena called me. She's spinning." "What did you tell her?" "That you're hot and confusing. You're not helping." I wasn't trying to. I was caught somewhere between panic and exhilaration. I hadn't expected them to talk about me. To compare notes. It should have scared me. But it didn't. It thrilled me. The chaos. The mess. The unraveling of something Lena never thought I'd be capable of breaking. She wanted a game? Now she was in the middle of one. And the rules had changed. That weekend, I came home from the gym and found her sitting on the edge of the bed, holding my phone. I hadn't locked it. Rookie move. Or maybe I wanted her to look. She didn't say anything at first. Just held the phone out, the message thread with Melissa open. No explicit photos. No smoking gun. But context. Timing. A suspicious amount of inside jokes. And a few subtle lines too intimate for just friends. "Anything you want to explain?" she asked. I took the phone, tapped it off, and set it on the dresser. Calm. Slow. "You read my messages? Don't turn this around," she snapped. "You've been acting strange for weeks. And you've been encouraging it." She blinked. "What?" "The flirting. The jokes. The open marriage games you've been playing since the first party." "I wasn't serious," she said. "It was just fun." "Was it?" I asked. "Because it stopped being fun when you stopped noticing me." Her voice dropped. "Are you sleeping with her?" "Which one?" The silence was sudden. Heavy. Her face twisted. "Jesus, Jason." "No. I'm not sleeping with Melissa," I said. Yet. That yet. I didn't even plan to say it. But it came out anyway. Sharp. True. Lena stood up, stormed toward the hallway. Unbelievable. But I followed. "Lena," I said, voice even. "You lit the fire. You don't get to act shocked when it burns." She turned. "I never thought you'd be so calculated. And I never thought you'd be so careless." We stared at each other for a beat. Neither one of us said what we were really thinking. She left the house for hours. Said she was going for a drive. I poured a drink and texted Melissa. "She knows something. Let her. She started it. Ashley knows she confronted you. Good. Maybe she'll stop pretending she's not falling for you." That stopped me. Because it felt too real. And for the first time, I wasn't sure who was really in control anymore. Melissa texted late. "Need to talk." Not a game this time. That was new. There was always a game. A layer. A glance wrapped in implication. But this? This felt different. We met at a wine bar on the east side, quiet, dim, full of people too busy trying to impress each other to notice anyone else. Melissa wore jeans this time, no dress, no flirtation armor. Her hair was pulled back. No lipstick. She was nervous. I slid into the booth across from her. "Hey." She didn't smile. "Thanks for coming. Everything okay?" She let out a breath, folding and refolding the cocktail napkin in her hands. "I lied to you." That got my attention. Melissa had been many things over the past few weeks, playful, bold, secretive, but never uncertain. "I didn't just hear Lena talk about the open marriage thing," she said. "She didn't just joke about it at parties." I stayed quiet. "She told me," she said, looking at me now. "Months ago. Before that first party." I blinked. "Told you what?" Melissa swallowed. "That she was thinking about sleeping with someone. Not a joke. Not a theory. She'd already picked him." My stomach dropped, but my voice stayed steady. "Who?" She didn't say his name. Just said he worked with her. That it had been building for a while. I leaned back. The room felt smaller. Hotter. She said she wasn't sure how far it would go, Melissa continued. But she wanted it. Said she felt dead inside. Said you never saw her anymore. That part hit harder than I expected. She was planning to do it after that first game night, Melissa said. That was the setup. She wanted to see how far she could go. Make it feel justified. And then I got there first, I said, quietly. Melissa met my eyes. Yeah, you did. I ran a hand through my hair. Everything that had felt like control, every kiss, every secret text, every calculated move, it all felt different now. Like I hadn't been outplaying her. I'd just been beating her to the betrayal. She hasn't done it yet, I said, half a question, half a hope. Melissa shrugged. If she has, she hasn't told me. There was a beat of silence between us. No flirtation, no pretense. Just two people sitting in the wreckage of the same broken house. I thought telling you would feel better, Melissa whispered. But it just makes everything messy, eh? I laughed once, dark and humorless. That's all this is now. A mess. Melissa stared at her wine glass for a long moment. You were never boring, Jason. She just stopped seeing you. She stopped wanting to, I said. So I gave her what she wanted. Melissa reached across the table, her fingers brushing mine. But I pulled back. You told me what I needed to know, I said. And I appreciate that. But... Her eyes flicked up. Ashley wants more, I said. That was the first time I'd said it out loud. Melissa didn't look surprised. She just nodded. She's not as casual as she acts, she said. She caught feelings weeks ago. So did you? I said, quietly. She looked down. Yeah, I did. I stood, tossed a few bills on the table. I'm sorry. You're not, she said. Not accusing. Just honest. You're right, I said. I'm not. That night, I came home to Lena sitting on the porch. Hoodie, bare feet, glass of wine in her lap. You were with her, she said. Not a question. I didn't lie. She told me the truth, I said. That you were planning it. That you picked someone. Lena didn't speak. Just stared out into the dark. How long were you going to let me be the fool? I asked. She took a slow sip of wine. You weren't the fool, Jason. You were the safe one. That's not love, I said. That's insurance. She flinched. I didn't do it, she whispered. I thought about it. I planned it. But I didn't. I nodded. I did. I know, she said. She didn't cry. I didn't yell. We sat in silence, two people holding the same burnt-out matchstick. Eventually, she asked, Are you in love with her? I didn't answer. Because I didn't know which her she meant. And I wasn't sure it mattered anymore. The group text went silent for 2 weeks. No game night invites. No playful memes. No last-minute brunches or shared playlists. Just static. The kind you feel in your chest when you realize something's over, even if no one said it out loud. Lena didn't plan the third party. She didn't plan anything. She became withdrawn. Not in the dramatic, door-slamming way, but in the quieter, more unnerving kind. Like a person erasing herself in slow motion. The woman who once danced barefoot with a glass of wine in her hand to sod at midnight now left early for errands and came home with nothing to show for it. She didn't ask questions anymore. Didn't scroll through my texts or drop sly comments about Ashley. She barely looked me in the eye. And in our friend group, the once tightly wound orbit around her charm, everything shifted. Ashley stopped texting Lena completely. Melissa still replied in the group chat, but her responses were sparse. Mechanical. Like she didn't want to be rude, but couldn't summon the energy to pretend anymore. And Lena? She never addressed the elephant in the room. She just shrank around it. One night, I came home to find her curled up on the couch, a blanket pulled over her knees, scrolling through old photos on her phone. Photos from game nights. From beach trips. From birthdays and dinner parties where everyone looked relaxed, smiling, like their lives hadn't begun to quietly implode. You remember this one? She asked softly, holding up the screen. It was from that first night. The night. I nodded. I do. You looked so calm. I didn't think you even noticed what I said. I noticed, I said. She set the phone down and turned to face me. Her eyes were tired, but no longer guarded. You changed, she said. You're not the man I married. You mean I stopped letting you have everything you wanted without question? She flinched, but didn't deny it. I didn't mean to ruin everything, she said. I just wanted to feel something. You lit a match, I said. And you were surprised when it burned the room down. She laughed once sharp and hollow. I thought I could control it, she said. That if I joked about it, it wouldn't feel real. But then you started changing, pulling away, making me the one in the dark. Maybe I got tired of being predictable. Maybe you wanted revenge. Maybe I just wanted to matter again. She stared at me for a long time, as if trying to read something between the lines of my face. Then, quietly, she said, "You mattered. You always did. I just got used to not showing it." That landed like glass in my chest. But I didn't speak. I just stood there, in the quiet ruins of what we used to be. The next weekend passed in a blur. Lena didn't leave the house. I barely did. The energy between us was muted, careful, as if we were both avoiding one last confrontation neither of us had the strength for. But Ashley? She was loud. Not in words. In absence. 2 missed calls. 1 long message I didn't open. A text I stared at for a full 10 minutes before deleting. "So that's it. You disappeared just like her." Melissa texted too. "You good? Lena's falling apart. You don't have to." I didn't answer either of them, because I didn't know what I was anymore. I wasn't the man trying to win his wife back, but I wasn't the man chasing someone else either. I was in the middle of the wreckage, still breathing, still standing, but not sure what direction meant healing and which meant more ruin. Monday night, Lena made dinner. Real dinner. Wine. Candles. Her effort looked like an apology, but it felt like a eulogy. She sat across from me and said, "I'm not going to ask you to love me the same way again." "I don't think I could," I said honestly. "But I'm going to ask you to be honest," she said. "Do you still want this? This marriage?" I asked. She nodded. I thought about Ashley's kiss, Melissa's stare, the messages I hadn't deleted but couldn't read again. I thought about the version of me I had become. Stronger, sharper, angrier, freer. And then I looked at Lena, vulnerable for the first time in years. No walls. No wine-glazed charm. Just her. "I don't know," I said, "but I'm not done figuring it out." She nodded, slowly. Her shoulders lowered. Something between relief and heartbreak crossed her face. "I'm canceling the group thread," she said. "No more parties." "The party's already over," I replied. We sat there a while longer. 2 people who had lit the match together, watching the smoke settle. There was no fanfare. No dramatic final fight. Lena didn't pack a suitcase and slam the door. I didn't storm out into the night. That's not how things end when they've already been dying for a while. Sometimes it's quieter. Sometimes it's just done. A week after the last dinner, Lena moved out. Said she'd be staying with her sister for a while. She didn't cry. Neither did I. We exchanged polite words, handled the logistics like business partners dividing assets. No, I love yous. No last minute please. Just a door that closed and stayed that way. And then came the quiet. The kind of quiet that would have once made me uncomfortable. But now, it was clean, blank, like a fresh canvas waiting for the first stroke. 3 weeks later, I hosted a party of my own. No Lena, no Ashley, no Melissa, none of the couples from the old world. These weren't people pretending to be happy. They weren't dressed in the uniform of suburban monogamy, sipping Chardonnay while eyeing someone else's spouse from across the room. These were people who came to play, and they weren't afraid of what that meant. I met most of them through a friend of a friend. A private Telegram group, if you want to get specific. Discreet. Curious. Direct. The rules were clear. No apologies. No expectations. Just honesty. And desire. I stood behind the bar, pouring a drink when the first guest arrived, 2 women, laughing, both in black. One had a tattoo that ran down her spine. The other kissed me on the cheek like we already had history. "Jason," she said, tilting her head, "you don't look like a man who just got out of a marriage." I smiled. "That's because I didn't escape a marriage." I paused. "I escaped a performance." She laughed, low and approving, and slid a glass from the counter. Here's to the truth. The room filled slowly, and the atmosphere was nothing like the cozy wine-slicked nights Lena used to cure it. This was different. Bolder. The lighting was still low, but intentional. Not soft. Seductive. The music was deeper, the conversation slower. There was no charcuterie board, just sharp cheese, dark chocolate, and something raw in the air that you couldn't taste with your mouth. Only your pulse. I watched it all with quiet satisfaction. And when someone touched my arm, fingers dragging just slightly, I turned, expecting a stranger. But it was Ashley, in a wine-red dress. No husband. No mask. "Hi," she said. Simple. Controlled. "I wasn't sure if you'd come," I replied. She looked around. "This is different. Different from the games we used to play," I said. "Or maybe it's the same game," she said. "Just with the right players now." I didn't respond. Just watched her take a drink, the wine glinting like blood in the glass. Melissa didn't show. That was her choice. And Lena? She texted me once, the day after the papers were finalized. I hope you find what you're looking for. I didn't reply, because I already had. Not love, not validation, not even revenge. I'd found the quiet thrill of freedom, the feeling of no longer performing for someone else's expectations. I wasn't the background anymore. I wasn't waiting to be chosen. I was choosing. The party pulsed around me. Ashley smiled at something someone whispered in her ear. The woman with the spine tattoo asked me if I wanted to join her for a smoke on the balcony. I said yes. Because now, I didn't just play the game. I wrote the rules.